We can divide technical theater up into 6 more or less widely accepted areas, and that is scenery, props, costumes, lighting, sound, and lastly, stage management. Now let's break each of these categories down into some brief overviews. Well, let's start with scenery. Also referred to as a set, scenery is the physical organization of a space to aid in creating the world of the play. So, this encompasses walls, platforms, set dressing such as pictures or rugs, and for our purposes, I'm going to include furniture as well. While frequently this can fall into the area of props, it's still typically designed by the set designer. Like most areas of technical theater, scenery can be broken down into design and execution. Traditionally, the scenic designer will collaborate with the director and the other designers to design all elements of the set. This includes any paint and properties that may be part of the set, such as furniture pieces. The vision is executed by the scene shop, prop shop, and paint shop, which can include carpenters, welders, painters, any other specialized roles, and that can depend on the theater as well as the specific production. Props or properties can generally be narrowed down to anything that an actor carries or could carry on stage. There are some gray areas here, as I previously mentioned, like with furniture or set dressing, as to who's responsible between set and props. There can also be extensive overlap between props and costumes. Scenic design or costume designers may have some say in the design, anywhere from a seal of approval or a concept, all the way to detailed drawings, swatches, and renderings. Many times, though, the prop master is left to collaborate between the director and prop artisans to design, source, and build props. Due to the extensive list of props in many shows, oftentimes props are preferred to be pulled from storage or borrowed or bought before resorting to a custom build. Nonetheless, widely specific props are constantly being constructed. Probably the most straightforward and widely understood area of technical theater is costumes. Costumes essentially covers anything worn by an actor. This goes down to the jewelry and the undergarments. Wigs and makeup can be considered as separate from the costume department, but generally it's all thought of as part of the costume shop. The costumes for a show are designed, shockingly, by the costume designer, who frequently actually is in there working physically on the costumes throughout the production process. This is a bit different than what is typical for, let's say, set and lights. The primary point of execution, though, depending on the specific theater, is usually the costume shop manager or supervisor, whoever's the head of the costume shop. And then they'll typically delegate to other sewists or stitchers, drapers, or milliners. On to lighting. Lighting obviously covers the stage lights, spotlights, etc., but it really covers pretty much anything that has to do with electricity that isn't sound related. That means projections, fog and haze, or practicals on stage, such as chandeliers or anything else that actually has to light up. Light plots are designed by the lighting designer, and then more often than not, that's handed off to the master electrician and the rest of the electrics crew to do all of the actual hanging and focusing and running the cable for all of the lights needed. Lighting is fairly unique in that a large, if not the largest part of actually designing the show, is done all the way towards the end of the process at Tech Week. This is when they do cue to cues, and the designer has seen parts of rehearsal already and knows exactly where people are standing, and that's when they actually create or finish creating the looks and cues for the lights and plug them into the board. Lights are then run by the light board operator during the run of the show. Any audio or audio equipment used for a show is the responsibility of the sound department. This includes sound effects, microphones, music, and so on. Sound is unique in that even professionally, it's not uncommon for one single person in a production to design the sound and then set it up and even run it during the course of a show. The sound designer collaborates with the director to determine and source all sound effects or music needed. If microphones are used, they are in charge of said microphones and the mixing of their audio. For musicals in particular, audio production expertise is invaluable for fine-tuning the mix and levels between microphones and music. The process is ongoing and can even change nightly depending on a actor whose voice is wearing down during the course of a production, or maybe an actor makes a wonderful choice to scream for the first time one night during a scene. Far different from the other areas of technical theater, stage management doesn't really have a say in any of the design of a production, but they do have their hands in just about everything. Stage management can broadly be broken down into three main functions. They run rehearsals in terms of time, note-taking, and pretty much anything else that can add structure. They call cues, lights, sound, etc. during the run of a show. That ensures that there's like one commanding voice that brings all the elements together properly. And then finally, and most importantly, they are a communications hub between everybody. Directors, designers, actors, technicians. Everybody hears from the stage manager, responds to the stage manager, answers to the stage manager, and this gives a through line, especially of safety throughout the whole process, throughout everything that's going on, particularly once technical elements are started to be added to the show into rehearsals and that sort of thing. It's a lot to take in, I know. Everyone needs some sort of general understanding of these areas, but for the most part, people just specialize in one or two areas at most. And sometimes it's not even a whole area. Sometimes it's something as specific as paint or makeup. So really, just to start with, pick one you think you're interested in and dive into it. Don't get hung up on all the options. It's totally okay to switch later.
Today, we'll be discussing theater terms and concepts. Theater is fun and exciting for actors, technicians, and of course, the audience. Since there is nothing quite like live performance, there are also many unique terms and concepts. Today, we're going to explore some of the terms and ideas unique to theater. We'll begin with blocking. Blocking is movement instructions for actors. Every cross, every entrance, and every line is scripted, either by the director, the actor, the author, or a combination of all of them. This leads us to cross. It's simply movement from one place to another on stage. There is also a countercross. A countercross is a small cross by one actor in the opposite direction of the cross by another actor. Just as we say counterclockwise, we say countercross. Observe this example of countercross. This is Kurt and Amy, and they're going to demonstrate a countercross. As Kurt crosses, Amy makes a slight cross in the opposite direction. Now they'll demonstrate what it would look like without the countercross, and you can see for yourself it's a little less interesting and makes no connection between the characters. Way to go, guys! One important thing to remember is never cross without a purpose. No one moves somewhere for no reason. They have a reason, even if it's boredom, if it's interest, if it's anger, if it's frustration. Whatever the reason, there is a purpose behind that cross. General rule is to never cross without a purpose when on stage. Next, let's talk about entrances and exits. An entrance, or to enter, is when the audience becomes aware of the actor. So it's not simply when the actor walks on stage. You could be standing on stage behind a set piece. If the audience is not aware of you, you have not made an entrance. You could also be off stage. If your character were to scream on the side of the stage, the audience would become aware of you, and though you are not seen, you have made an entrance. Just as it's important to never cross without a purpose, it's also important to enter coming from somewhere. Now, of course you come from somewhere, but in this instance, we're talking about the emotional place that actor is coming from. Wherever the character happens to be when he enters, the emotional state must enter with him, both physically and emotionally. When entering and exiting, there's one extremely important thing to remember: sightlines. The stage rule for sightlines is simple. If you can see the audience, they can see you. Before it's time for an actor to enter, it's important they remember to position themselves out of the audience's view. When exiting, you must remain in character until you are out of the audience's line of sight. In this example, as we approach the stage, we see no actor. If we move to the house right seating, we still can see no actors. Actors are paying close attention to sight lines. As we move to the house left seating, we see an actor appear. This actor is not observing the sight lines. As we move above the stage, we can see that there are actually actors on both sides of the stage. One observing sightline rules, the other one is not. It's extremely important to think of sightlines while waiting in the wings. An actor's face conveys a character's emotion. For this reason, it's vital for the audience to be able to see an actor's face. For this reason, actors try to stay open to the audience. Staying open is standing on the stage so most of the audience can see most of your face most of the time. This requires actors to cheat out. To cheat out is to turn slightly towards the audience, to remain open. It's important for actors to work together to make this appear natural. If an actor stands in a way that is difficult for the audience to see their face, this is called being closed, or closed off from the audience. A director will often be heard telling actors to open up or to cheat out, or alert an actor when they are closing off to the audience. One way for an actor to make certain they remain open is to utilize their upstage limb, using the arm or leg farthest from the audience in order to stay open. Here we see two actors. One is using their upstage arm, which keeps them open to the audience when placing the briefcase on the table. The other is using their downstage arm, which closes them off from the audience. This would also be true in almost any instance. If a character is simply tying their shoe, using their upstage foot will keep them open to the audience. An imaginary wall exists between the audience and the performers on stage, the fourth wall. While there are three natural walls surrounding an actor, there is a fourth wall that we can't see, the one between the actor and the audience. This is why actors don't look directly at the audience. However, there are times when characters in a story may speak directly to the audience. This is called breaking the fourth wall. In this instance, actors remain in character but demonstrate an awareness of the audience. Popular instances of this can be found on shows like The Office and Fuller House. Here is one of the best known instances of breaking the fourth wall.
I'll be home at 6 sharp. If you need anything, call.
I love you, sweetie.
Call if you need us.
They bought it.
One important thing to remember about breaking the fourth wall is that the actor is still the character while speaking to the audience. When an actor fails to continue to be the character, this is called breaking character. This is a failure by the actor. It is important for actors to remain in character at all times. There are times when it is incredibly difficult to stay in character, particularly if something goes wrong with another actor, prop, or set piece. In this instance, actors may have to improvise. Improvisation is when an actor remains in character but has to make up the story for a short time until the problem is corrected.
What is playing out or cheating out? Playing out and cheating out essentially mean the same thing for stage actors. Playing out means to play towards the audience and is most effective in a traditional theatre space where the audience are seated facing the stage head on and the actor has a backdrop behind them. Playing out is not natural for characters, but it is natural for the actor. Acting towards the audience is, in effect, a cheat. In real life, people would not have a conversation making sure that an audience could see and hear it. They'd be fully concentrating on the person or group that they're talking to and could be stood in any configuration, such as a small group in a circle, for example. However, in a traditional theatre space, a director expects an actor to act out towards the audience while still acknowledging the other characters that they are speaking to, whilst at the same time still making playing out look as natural as possible. Playing out asks an actor to constantly consider, can I be seen? Can I be heard? Requiring the actor to communicate both visually and orally. For the actor, their voice can travel towards the audience more easily and the audience have more opportunity to hear the dialogue projected from the stage. The actor's face is also more likely to be visible, even if partially at times it is in profile, which allows more of the audience to read their facial expressions and understand the character's deeper feelings.
So likely at some point in your career, you've probably done some theater along the way. Regional theater, community theater, professional theater maybe. And now you might be looking at a turn into television and film work or on-camera work. And so what is the real difference between the two? Really, it's about intimacy. It's about how close you are to your audience in television and film work. I'm in a close shot right now, and if I were to be talking to another actor that was just offside of the camera, then I'm not going to be projecting out to them. I get to have a very real, very natural delivery behind what I'm doing. In fact, I would say you don't have to give anything extra, any extra volume, any extra performance in order for that to translate. So it's very real, it's very honest, it's very grounded in what would be very similar to real life. When you're in a theater production, your audience is not this close to you. It's not normally an intimate experience. You are having to have your audience see your performance, which may be hundreds of feet away from you. And if I were to do something as intimate as TV and film and try to have a moment here where I can connect with somebody and see their eyes and their micro expressions, and I did that exact same thing on a stage where my audience is, again, 100 feet away, they would never see it. It would literally look like nothing was happening and they're not getting it. So therefore, there is this projection, there is this performance, and a lot of that is, yes, volume, but also in the physicality. Because they're not seeing those micro expressions, so they've got to get that performance going throughout the entire body. TV and film, like multi-camera sitcoms, I think have an element of that because you do have a live audience and it is kind of projected out a little bit in that things are like punchy and a little bit bigger and a little bit broader within that medium. But for most television and film work, particular for drama, it's very natural and very honest. So I guess a good way to think about the difference between on-camera work and theater is going to be when you're in TV and film, it's so intimate. Try to think making it real, making it grounded, sticking with your subtext of your character. And it doesn't have to be any bigger than what would be true to life. And you just trust that work. If you're feeling it, they will see it. You could be feeling it for theater and your audience still not get that performance, and that's the problem. You've got to make it bigger. You've got to go outward to your audience, and that's with your physicality and with your voice, so that they can feel what you're feeling, even though you're doing it in such a way where they're going to get it, where they get to feel it as well. So TV and film, inward. Theater, outward. In any case, it should be real, it should be specific, it should be truthful. You want that across the board in any acting that you do.
Difference between acting and acting. When somebody is acting something, I think that they are performing. And when I think that they are performing, I think they are indicating, and essentially what they're doing is, if I told you, like right now, like, go ahead, act sad. Then somebody might go, oh, well, okay, I might frown a little bit, and my shoulders are going to slump, and my eyes kind of get a little bit softer, and I slow down a little bit. And all of these things would be indicating sadness. Like, is that what sadness resembles? Is that what it looks like? Is that what it sounds like? But it's all played because as I was doing that, I felt nothing. I was really happy because I'm doing this video, and you guys are with me. That's why. But if I had to actually act sad, I need to go deeper than that. I actually have to be experiencing sadness in a way where when I find it internally, it will come out on the outside. And if I think of something that actually truly would make me sad, then I don't have to think about what I'm doing physically. I'm experiencing something. I'm actually doing it. I'm not playing it. I'm not indicating it. I'm not performing it, but I'm feeling it. And you got to connect to something. So there I was actually thinking about something happening to somebody that I loved. And as a result of that, it provoked out a real, actual emotional point of view that becomes real. And you got to do this in your acting. And then that's how it is. It's realistically, yes, but that's because it is literally real. And then you just use the power of the mind to kind of sit in that and have it provoke what is necessary for the story that you're trying to tell within the character that you're trying to tell. That is the difference between acting and acting. Performing or doing, experiencing. And if you can do that and connect to that, then you'll be in really good shape at that point in time, because you'll be doing it the real way, the right way, the professional way, and the one that might just get you landed on some jobs.